Alrighty guys, thanks for coming out. This is going to be my opinion article for Indiana University East. So next week, or actually a couple days ago on April 12th, it was the 1-year anniversary of the arrest of Freddie Gray. For those who don't know, Freddie Gray was the one who was arrested by the Baltimore police over a switchblade incident, and while he was getting transported to the prison, while in the police's custody still, he was injured through his spine. He had serious injuries, and then he ended up dying in the end. So this incident prompted a lot of arrests and increased national attention on the police oversight and how this incidences like this with police brutality and misconduct should be handled. So Devin Love, the author of the opinion editorial located in USA Today, titled "Freddie Gray Case Points Out Need for Trial Boards to Include Civilians When Determining Punishment for Brutality," makes claims that civilians should be put on the committees and boards that investigate officer misconduct. So Devin Love is essentially saying that police cases with brutality shouldn't be handled from police, that civilians should be included on that trial. So for those who don't know, the incident occurred on April 21st, a couple years ago, and that when Gray fell into a coma, he was taken to a trauma center. Gray died on April 19th, and his death was ascribed to injuries to his spinal cord. Then a pending investigation included 6 Baltimore police officers who were suspended without pay. So Love claims that police can't police themselves, that committees who play a role in holding officers accountable should not just be those who are police and police-like, but they should be civilians and locals who are not necessarily educated and who have a better understanding of what citizens are going through. So this could mean another opinion that Love is saying, that this could mean the difference between keeping young, unarmed men safe or letting bad cops out onto the street. That this small change could influence the outcome of Gray's case if the police knew that the incident would be reviewed not by fellow police officers but by civilians, that they might have handled it differently, they might have treated him differently, it could have been a completely different output. So many cases involving police misconduct often don't even make it to trial. In those instances, the law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights has a heavy influence on the outcome of investigations of police behavior. So a lot of accusations don't make it to trial in the first place. Love is saying that if we had citizens on the trial, that maybe a lot of these incidences would be brought up more. They wouldn't necessarily be thrown under the rug because it's not police judging police. So my counter argument to this is that although police may be biased about the accusations of other police officers, police are still trained professionals. With regards to how Love claims that police will always be biased towards one another, many citizens will also show the same unfair opinions. So for instance, if I have a family member who is assaulted by a police officer, in future cases, no matter what the evidence is pointing at, I may be biased towards the police officer even if he was right or wrong. So, especially with so much publicity revolved around the hatred of police officers, making uneducated citizens a part of trial cases would only increase biased decision making. Only police know the nature of their work and the reason decisions were made. Police officers don't necessarily have weeks or months to look at all the evidence and look at everything around them. They just have a split second to make a decision. So if you throw in a citizen who has all this, doesn't really understand the nature of the police work, everything they have to do, they just are looking at some of the facts and reviewing everything, they might not understand exactly what the police are going through at the time of. According to Mike Parker, author of the article titled "Police Training," the application process at the Philadelphia Police Department includes an application, reading exam, physical fitness test, drug screening, and background check. And all of that's done before you even accept into the training program. So once you're accepted, according to the Bureau of Justice Statistics, the length of time required to complete the training academy is 19 weeks. So even though police may be biased towards each other, they're still having a lot of training. It's not just any hobo off the street. there's a lot of education that goes involved to police officers. So with regards to Love claiming that putting civilians on trial will decrease the amount of bad cops and unarmed men, civilians will also make bad judgment too. While a police officer may realize the true danger of a situation or a criminal, the civilian may not. Civilians could use poor judgment to put a good cop out of commission or to keep a bad man out of prison. They don't necessarily understand the whole dynamics of the situation. They might be more eager to use poor judgment and not understanding the entire case. So another counter argument is that although many police accusation charges are not brought to trial, the job of a police officer is to prevent crime from occurring. People will always be against those who are getting them in trouble, no matter if they're right or wrong. So even if the officer is doing everything by the book, that still might require breaking through a locked door, handcuffing someone, or even shooting at someone. So with such devastating tactics being used, civilians will oftentimes use any excuse to get away with what they are being caught with. For instance, if a person is caught transporting 10 pounds of heroin, and during the arrest, the victim claimed that the officer used unnecessary force, whether or not the officer did indeed use unnecessary force, claiming that he did is a loophole to get a lighter sentence or to get the sentence drawn back. So with the media bringing so much attention to police misconduct, people will often look for any way to get out of a penalty. So just because the officer misconduct, just because it's not always being a trial, a lot of times people will just make an excuse to try to get their sentence reduced. So in the summary, although police can still show bias with regards to judging the activities of fellow police officers, they're still trained professionals who know how to do their work. Allowing someone who doesn't properly know police protocol or the situations they make every day would not make a fair trial. People will always be out to get the people they don't like. As an officer's job is to get people in trouble, people will naturally not like a lot of police officers. So just how you wouldn't let someone who doesn't know how architecture make a building, you shouldn't let someone who doesn't fully understand the situation that police have judge the police. And that concludes my speech. Thank you for watching.